Daniel Stiner was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 45 years after the stabbing death of his ex-girlfriend. He was known to be violent and showed no regard for the victim's 14-year-old son, who was at school at the time of the incident. After 24 years, he is up for parole, and the victim's son is here to voice his opposition. Let's take a look.
We're going to ask you, sir, the offender, to introduce yourself and give us your DOC number.
Daniel Stiner, 95687.
Okay. Mr. Steiner, you're before this panel today for parole consideration. You're currently serving a 45-year sentence for manslaughter, aggravated burglary. This is a rehear. You are a fifth felony offender. I have a parole eligibility date of August 1st, 2021. Good time date of February 28th, 2042. And a full term date of September 3rd, 2044. Also, today we have several people who have joined us both in person and on Zoom who are in opposition to your release, and we will get to them. We'll introduce them and get to them in a minute. But first, I would like to ask Mr. Steiner if you could give a brief synopsis of why you're in prison and why you think that today we should give you parole consideration.
I thank God for my allowing me to be in front of the board today. And I'm kind of nervous right now.
Okay, we understand. Just relax.
And I'm gonna take full responsibility for my action. And I'm sorry for putting the victim through pain and suffering for my action. And I'm not the same person I was before. I'm a changed man.
Warden, would you like to make a statement about Mr. Steiner?
Yes, Ms. Ledoux. You know, since his last hearing, when he was denied a couple years ago, he's done the things that we asked him to do. He's completed victim impact, which is a very important course for him to complete. He's completed nurturing parents, inside out dads. You know, I do make a note that he has not had a disciplinary report since 2017, so over 7 years, conduct free. He's done the things we've asked him to do. He does show remorse. In my interview with him yesterday, he's one of my STRIVE members, which is part of my honor program. So he's been doing good in here.
Let's see if I understand. How old are you? 65?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've served 24 years?
Ma'am.
Of a 45. Okay. I'm going to ask the people here in opposition if they would speak next. We have Philip Jean-Louis Jr. and we would ask him to speak at this time. Sir, if you'll just stand at the podium and direct your comments to the panel. And correct me if I misspelled your name. I mispronounced it.
So first, I want to thank Victims Coordinator, courts. Thank you guys. I appreciate it for the opportunity to be able to speak on behalf of my mother, Lori Babineau, the victim in this case. I also appreciate the remarks from Daniel Steiner. I do appreciate his remorse and what was said also by Warden, but in opposition, I just want to specifically speak on and stay as objective focused as I can. All right. He's sorry. He's remorseful. But me and my family are still hurt. Right? Unfortunately, I am still unavailable to my family at times. At times, I'm still emotionally disconnected. I still have to relive and think about February 2nd, 2000 and what happened on that day. I was 14 years old. So I didn't have much understanding of what went on at 14. He did. All I could do at that time was do my best to protect my mom in that horrible situation that just felt like it happened yesterday. So when I get calls from Mr. Cole, you know, while I'm on vacation with my family and telling me that we have to go through this process again, of course I'm gonna be here. Of course I'm gonna stand up, and of course I'm gonna fight with everything I have. Let me just try to understand and break this down, how it all went about. Daniel was an ongoing, volatile person, very volatile. I've seen him, I've watched him put his hands physically on my mom, beat her tremendously. Okay? I keep these records. I keep it all, and I only take this out when necessary. After this hearing, it's going back in the safe, because I've learned how to part ways with my past, but also you can't forget it. Okay? This is the ad in the newspaper. Lafayette woman slain. He murdered her on February 2nd, 2000 at 12 o'clock. It was on a Monday. I went to school. He knew I was going to school. Still today, I ask myself, well, what if I would have been in that apartment? What if I would have been home? Would he killed me as well? Would I kill him? How that would have gone? I look at these things just to share how I have to go about it and what it is. Not only that, I have her death certificate. The original copy. I had to learn, okay, what is this and what is entails to? At the back, at the bottom, the cause of the death. It says several reasons, 4 reasons. The last reason, multiple stab injuries to left to mid back. The back. He was trying to run away. That's the only way I could see it. Not only that, at 14, so I was somewhat educated on what a petition is for domestic abuse protection, a protective order, right? We filled one out. It was successful. He signed off on it. And I know I'm intense, but he acknowledged it. I went home and I was like, well, you know what? At least we got something in place that he should follow, or he will follow. I have to read it. And you know what? Now is the time. I tried to read it in the car on the way here, and I was unsuccessful, but I'm gonna give it another try. And I'm gonna read exactly what my mom said and wrote in this petition. She wrote it. It's her handwriting, and I keep it with me. She wrote it on January 20th, 2000. Between 8:30 and 9 p.m. Forced me to drive to Hammond Park. Couldn't get out till he told me to. Pushed me up against the car by my neck, telling me to shut up. I was trying to talk nice, but he kept on yelling. Tried to push me into the bayou, but convinced him not to. I got in the car after he told me. I had to drive him around. Then he took me home. When I got out of the car, I was talking to my son, me, Philip. He was talking to me to call 911. I remember that, y'all. I promise I do. Daughter came out. My sister asked me, she couldn't even be available. I told her to stay back because I knew. Just let me take care of it, right? Let just one person take care of it. Daughter come out nearby apartment and called Daniel's name, and Daniel ran away. I was so scared. I called the police and they came. I went to the police station and filed charges against him. The past incident, if children run around, he would threaten to kill me if he caught me with somebody else. Around Mardi Gras, there was a time I used tired and wanted to leave, and he got mad and kicked me and punched me. He slapped me and threatened me more. This is the first time I was able to get through this. This is the first time I was actually able to get through this protective order because it's in my mom's hand. So the trauma is still there. The questions are still there. The pain obviously is still there. I have a nonprofit now. Everything I do is under my mom's name, the Gloria Project. You can look it up. I appreciate the apology. I appreciate rehabilitation for him. I appreciate the fact that he can still turn around and actually become a great person. I do believe, and I do forgive him. I do. But for me to be able to trust that 24 years later, he would make the right decision if he's ever provoked again? Absolutely not. Keep in mind, I've read records. I've got all public information from his past incidents. We said it, he's a fifth time, 5 times. And the audacity to ask for to be granted parole and back in society. And I'm sure, and I'm done, and I appreciate it. I'm sure we all can agree, and I will never question legal authority and the decisions that were made back in 2000. But I go back and forth with the fact of manslaughter. I go back and forth. Daniel, you knew what you were doing. That's not manslaughter to me. You knew what you were doing. Of course, they had many things that probably took into consideration because I was 14. Only thing I knew at that time was the fact that my mom was gone and I had to learn how to live life. After that, February 3rd, I had to learn how to start living life without my mom, you know? I went in the apartment. After it happened, I went in the apartment, and I'm done after this. I can tell you exactly how that day went. Money was tight. We just got out of the women's and children's home that weekend because we stayed there for some shelter, right? Until we realized, you know what, let's just go back home. We have a protective order. We should be okay. We should be okay. I went to school that morning. Told my mom, look, I'm going to school. Bus about to come. Talk to you when I get off. And that was my last word. I didn't get the chance to tell her I love her. So, for that to happen, you know, I'm angry. I appreciate everything that he's done. But no way, no chance. I believe he should get another chance in society. For crying out loud, she had groceries on the ground. She was going to cook for us, right? And you knew it was one of them times when, you know what, money is tight. Pack of chicken, pack of rice, a 1 pound bag of rice, 2 canned goods. So I'm left with the thought of my mom was doing what she needed to do for her children. And unfortunately, that was taken away by this guy behind me. He didn't think of that. He didn't think the fact that she had children to raise. He didn't think that she would have been leaving children behind based off of your actions. He didn't think of none of that. I get it 24 years later, you know, I'm tired. We all tired, but guess what? I still got to keep going. I still got to keep fighting. So golly, if I got to do it, guess what? I feel everybody should have to do it. Thank y'all. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come up and speak. I hope to go home and be able to bring some peace to my family, my friends, everyone that was affected by this situation. Again, I just thank you for the opportunity, and that's it.
Thank you. I know
Thank you, sir.
I do want to acknowledge Ricky George, also in Devin Bro in opposition and not speaking. We also have Roya Bastani, the 15th JDC ADA, and would like to give her an opportunity at this time to address the meeting.
Thank you, everyone. And I apologize that I'm at home. I'm actually flooded into my house. I was on my way to Baton Rouge and I could not make it. Full transparency, I was not the assistant DA who prosecuted this case. It is just something that I inherited. And I too, like Philip, will not Monday morning quarterback what was done at the time during, July of 2000. But I do just want to make sure everyone understands that this was charged as a second-degree murder. And while I respect Mr. Steiner's words here this morning and that he is apologetic at this time, I think the board needs to make sure they understand that back in 1986, Mr. Steiner was at that time charged with a manslaughter. And so he spent 17 years based on what I can see on his criminal history. We've been down this road before.
Frozen, we'll give it a minute to see if it comes back on. Okay, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. We have a whole another family who has been affected by Mr. Steiner's very gruesome attack. And I am so sorry to Philip that he has had to deal with this for so long. At 14 years old, it's such a very important age for a young man. And the facts that I've read going and delving into this case, this is exactly the type of case that Gwen's Law was created to help these women who go and they seek refuge at a women's shelter. Miss Gloria, like Philip said, was at the Faith House that weekend. She had just taken her family out and they were trying to feel safe and secure. And here we go with Mr. Steiner after being already in a relationship with him. The type of crime, the gruesome nature, the stabbing that he did over and over again to Miss Babineau in front of witnesses, didn't even care who he did it in front of. That all things that I think this board still needs to take into consideration because the safety of our community is still at stake. I definitely believe in rehabilitation. It's something I look for every single day in the work that I do. But Mr. Steiner is not someone who has proven to us over time that he can be trusted to be out in the community. And so my office absolutely opposes any type of release or any type of anything less than what he is already facing. I thank you for telling me that his completed date out was September 3rd of 2044. That date feels like the most appropriate date for what has transpired over Mr. Steiner's history dealing with the criminal justice system. And so we would ask, for any type of release or any parole to be denied at this time. And thank you all for having me here.
Mr. Prater, I'll let you begin questioning.
All right, Mr. Steiner, this won't take long because I don't have a lot of questions of you. I pretty much got my mind made up. But you apply for parole, so you get your say. How do I know you won't get out and get mad at somebody and start stabbing them like you seem to be doing in the past?
No, I ain't planning on doing that. I'm planning on live a good life. I got nieces and nephews I ain't never seen. And I want to go spend time with them, keep them from coming to a place like this here.
Okay, I
And
don't have.
And my niece had me a place to stay in Kingwood, Texas. And had my job to go to. I was planning on going to church, get a job, and spend time with my niece and nephew from coming from a place like this here.
Okay, that's all I got.
Mr. Barra.
I have no questions.
Mr. Steiner, I do want to commend you on your taking advantage of all of the rehabilitative tools at your disposal. And I'm appreciative that since 2017, your conduct has improved dramatically there in the facilities. We're going to go ahead. I want to make a note that you were charged with second-degree murder and were pled down. So, Mr. Prater, do you have, are you ready to vote?
Yes, I am.
Mhm.
Daniel, I won't make it long. For one thing, I'd like to just tell Philip what an impactful statement that was. I think that every domestic violence shelter, center, DA's office, police department, I think everybody ought to hear this hearing today. This is a perfect example of several things. One thing being, and I always said this as sheriff and as police chief, a piece of paper does not protect a woman on a domestic violence situation. It is a false sense of security. I'm not saying don't go through the process. Do go through the process. But it's a false sense of security. And so I appreciate, Philip, all your words. I took them very much to heart. You could see I was engaged in everything you said. Because I've seen it time after time after time, but I don't think I've ever heard it as succinctly and impactfully as you put it. So I appreciate those words. My vote, of course, is to deny.
Mr. PAROLE?
I also vote to deny based on the serious and heinous nature of the crime you committed, the law enforcement opposition, the victim opposition, and your criminal record before that crime.
My vote is to deny based on the history of violence. It seems like you had multiple revocations and increasing violence over the years. So today, my vote is to deny. You have been denied, sir. Thank you so much.
What do you think of this case? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. Until next time.